Hey everyone, I'm Tassinix, and welcome to Plotting and Scheming, covering Season 53 5 versus 5 preview. So this is coming up for the week 1. Now, I just realized that I think I have all my voice settings right, so I think everybody on the call should be able to hear me. We've got the regular crew here, TJ, Sasha, Isha. Dagger will be along in a few minutes, so he's just a few minutes behind. But I'm very happy to also introduce our special guest here, TomFord. Now, if you don't know anything about him, before we had all these Rhodiums here in the mix, up in the top end of Kyber 1, he was also a guy up there in the top bracket, doing it big. But what sets him apart is he's one of those guys doing it with less. He's one of the smaller accounts that swim up in the dark waters. So, welcome, Tom. Welcome, regular cast and crew. How's everybody doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
It's stellar to
Doing
have.
great, guys.
I'm splendid and confused and frustrated.
Oh, yeah,
Hashtag Jar Jar.
yeah. That's right. Guys,
So your usual, TJ.
Yeah, for
everyone's seeing this here on YouTube. It's but an hour ago the kit for Jar Jar was released, so still some time needed to fully digest. But yeah, it's every bit of a big deal that you thought it was going to be. So I guess not a lot of surprises. Guys, let's go ahead and jump right in to our chat. We had a rough outline, a rough agenda we wanted to get into. First, let's focus on our guest, TomFord. So how's it going, man? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. This new season should be a lot of fun, I think.
Oh, yeah. Blast hurrah for set 13, now with set 14 on the table. Fully agree. How taxing do you think it is to stay near the top when you're outgunned virtually all the time? Talk about that. And where have you been rank-wise? Like, talk about the last season. Where'd you end up? Yada, yada.
I think this last season, not too high. I don't know. It's hard to tell with all the Erodium counts now.
Yeah, just where you were, and then we'll infer from there,
Yeah, I don't know. I think last season I went 6-3. I think I'm, top 150-ish, 200, right around there. So
right.
Not super high.
Yeah.
So he's
basically top 100 though.
Yeah, he's top 20. Let's count how many Erodiums are in there. So he's top 20.
Yeah, it's
good player.
Well, there's like something like 40. I thought, like 37, right? I thought it was like 37 of them.
Don't ever sell CG short to make more.
Well,
So
there's going to be more here for the new season because, there's no timetable given for them fixing that, so we can only assume it's going to continue. But yeah, sorry to seize the moment away from you, Tom. So how do you feel, what are your thoughts on what it's like to be consistently one of the smaller accounts going up against the top dogs?
I think it's just, you have to work with what you have, and you play it a little bit differently. Like, for the most part, because, I'm missing a lot of stuff, including Amis and everything. It just meant before that you keep a little bit more for offense to make sure that you can cover, like, especially the relic differences, because sometimes normal counters don't work so well when you're not evenly matched there. Mm-hmm. But you just keep a little bit more for offense. Like, this last couple months of the efficiency meta have been a little bit skewed in terms of everybody's keeping everything, which is a little ridiculous. But it's just making sure you can cover specifically the problem teams, and a lot of the times what you can do is just you can set traps that are a little bit hard to plan for. Like, if you can set something to where you make somebody gamble or overcommit, you can usually capitalize that if you're clean on offense. But especially with Datacrons now, it helps even that playing field, because if you're smart with it, you're ahead of the trends in terms of what the meta is, in terms of how different teams are effective. Little strategies you can pull out of there that gives you a huge advantage, where before Datacrons you really couldn't do that. It was super heavily roster dependent, and the meta changed a lot slower.
Yep.
So you got a lot of opportunity if you can keep on top of the meta and what's going on. Even if you're a smaller account, you can stay ahead of things pretty well and climb.
Yeah.
It's just when you get to the top 50, before the Erodium accounts, when you start getting the top 50, then you've got the big accounts who also do the same thing. Then it starts to get a lot harder, because you're playing against great players with great accounts. So the advantages that you can get from being on top of things start to go away.
Yeah, that well starts to dry up real quick, I would imagine. Yeah. I think the last time where I was feeling like I was really punching up is when I was somewhere around like 9 million or 10 million. So it feels like a long time ago, but even, when I come up against guys like Aesop or Kabuki or some Taro, these guys that have there's crazy amounts of rerolls. Yeah, even I feel dwarfed, so I can appreciate what you go through every season.
Yeah,
It
I'm
makes it fun,
curious,
though.
Tom. Because you're looking at relic disadvantages pretty consistently in these competitive matchups. And like Tass said, I mean, he and I have some experience going against, like, we have bigger accounts, but even much larger accounts than us. And looking at those relic disadvantages, when you do it on a regular basis and you try and think about it strategically, I know not all relic disadvantages are the same. Like, when you look at that, when does like a relic disparity in terms of like picking a particular battle or choosing a counter, how do you think about that? What are the sort of the types of counters you'd say, oh, the large relic disparity is prohibitive, and then when do you think it's okay? How do you typically go about that, because you see it so often?
I think to be honest, because there usually is a fairly large disparity, like it just becomes baked into the plan. Like I never plan to have, you know, counters I usually plan for counters that are going to work mostly regardless of relic level, even if relics can kind of sometimes affect it. And then when you come into an account that's more on my size, or isn't so heavily skewed towards R8s and R9s, it just becomes that much easier and it's noticeable. So the baseline plan is against top end relics. So I try not to rely on stuff that's going to be really heavily affected by being outgunned, if that makes sense. Like you just kind of, it's just the baseline plan is this is going to be effective probably regardless of who you're going against.
Right, you're not doing a lot of B team punch ups. You got to be right
it'll be
the first.
The mechanics that carry it more than the relic levels. Like B team punch ups are super valuable. You just the ones where it's like, if you need to be R8 to really be effective with it, those ones I tend to avoid. But things like mechanics, like TM trains or DC mechanics that make certain things work, those are the type of things that are good to go regardless of who you're going against. But
So
fair.
If I can ask, for you going in and punching where you punched, right? You faced everybody in the top. I think I fought you or something like that. Do you have a strategy or a method that you go through on your planning for who you're facing? Is there anything specific? Do you just dig in on everybody? Because I know for me and Tash, something like that, we stay the sweat, dead less sweat, and it's everybody gets their own personal treatment. We do the reviews. How do you approach that when it comes to facing at the top?
To be honest, I used to more. I don't so much anymore because the good players are going to switch things up on you anyway. So going through history, for me, going through a history, I don't do it as much as I used to. But when you do, it's more to get an idea of the type of player. Not so much this is what they like to set, this is what they use on offense, but more of like this person will overkill the throw wall, or this person likes to go heavy defense or heavy offense. Like I know good players will change it up, but you can kind of get an idea of the player, and then maybe that switches a couple things around.
Well, what gives you? So you're not going to switch up too much, but you still said as an input you still want to know like what kind of player are they? Are you just giving a quick once over on GG, or do you pull like an Omega Bot report? Like how are you?
No, I don't do the Omega Bot.
Like,
and don't get me wrong, it's super valuable, and if you've got the time, absolutely do it because it does give you insights. Like Tass, you are the master of it, but you can get so much info, and if you take the time to really parse that info, you 100% it'll give you an advantage. I don't have as much time as I used to, so I don't really go as heavily into it.
Very fair.
But what you can do with going through GG, at least for a little bit, you can kind of, I don't know, if you see someone that likes to go heavy on defense, for instance, or heavy on offense, it's really easy to set like a front wall that's going to, and not just like a basic front wall, but you can maybe change things up, but set something that is a little tricky, and they might not have a specific answer, and then they'll be more likely to overkill, and then you can hit them with a back wall that will punish them based on what overkill they're likely to use. So for me, it's more of like if you can pick up that somebody likes to do certain things as a counter, you can force them down that road of using those counters. and plan for something that's a surprise that will have wanted those counters that they now don't have.
Fair enough. It's really impressive to be able to do that off the cuff, because that's, that's just completely, like, it boggles the mind. It boggles my mind to think about it, doing it that way. And it's very, very cool that you get the results you do.
It's fun. Like when stuff works, it feels great. But when you're punching up too, if this one thing kind of goes wrong, you can kind of have the whole match blow up real quick because the depth isn't quite there.
Mm-hmm.
But you plan to be good with your offense and be efficient and consistent, and try and put a little bit of pressure on your opponent to have them mess up here and there, and it can definitely give you some openings.
Yeah. Fair enough. The next question here for you. Now, how do you... you already beat me to it, Sasha. Look at you. Look at you guys. Wait, that's... TJ, you asked the third one, didn't you?
You got it.
You guys are industrious.
Welcome to the game
look
show.
Look at you,
yes,
industrious. I just thought you had good off-the-cuff stuff, because I wasn't looking at the list until I was planning to go back to the list. Look at you, slick sons of bitches.
Called teamwork, sir. Let's get on the page of that next time, all right? It's not all for you. It's all for one and one for all.
Look at you guys. I appreciate that. Let's, anything else you want to pick our guest brain on specifically before we jump into the general agenda?
The only thing I would come up with when we're going at the top is that it's easy. Is there anything you do when it's I have it and you don't? I'm going to give you the example only of saying maybe you don't have Gungans, right? And there's this new tool. And you know it, and because the only reason I asked this, Tom, it leads into the old rule for Swiggo has always been, if I have it and you don't, it's not your problem. And even if I have it and you do have it, sometimes it's like it's brand new, we don't know what's going to happen. Here you go, this is your problem. How do you approach that type of situation? Because there's always so much you can prep for, right? But what you can't prep for is what you don't know. Like in threes, we just had the new teams come up. It's like, how does this work out with this Datacron now? They're brand new teams. And seeing that, which I know everybody's going to do, how do you approach those types of situations?
You just expect to see it on defense and expect to have an answer for it held, no matter what the board's going to look like up front. Mm-hmm. You kind of have to do that. So you can't it's almost it's not guaranteed, but it's almost guaranteed that you're going to see it. So you just have to have ahead of time going into it, like, this is what I'm going to use for this. Even if it means you got to pull something that you might not want to off defense, you have to have an answer.
So is it, I guess the TLDR for me is it a huge overkill for you generally? Or do you go in like, let me test this in arena, see what it looks like so I can get an idea, and then I'll try to bring it just the right level? Because, for most of us, I know for me, I know for Tash, something like that, it's usually like, you know what, we're just going to overkill it. I don't want to even try to have to figure this out right now. Do you try to go with the huge, or do you just try to go as close as you can to the cuff?
Especially week one, it's just going to be overkill, because as much testing as you want to do, none of the Omnis are live either. So you're only going to get it. Like you can kind of try and craft for how those Omnis are going to affect various matchups you might come up with and various counters. But at the end of the day, your whole GAC could be done if you don't plan accordingly. And so, especially week one, I would just plan to overkill it, because it's a potential landmine that you could hit and then ruin everything. So
anytime,
it'd be better to make sure that doesn't happen at all. Like, there's no chance of it happening. And who knows? Maybe some of those GAC Omnis, that overkill isn't going to be enough anyways. Like, it could be surprising. It looks like a pretty crazy kit.
It is. It's going to be nuts. All right, guys. Week one agenda preparation. I don't know if you're looking at the stream I put up here in our Discord call, but as we're talking, I'm picking through the characters that I've been upcycling. I've had some good mod farming here the last few days, and now we're about a little over 24 hours out from lock for week one here, and I'm thinking about how to upcycle all those new mods into the characters. So that's kind of what I've been doing the last few days, is just not big overhauls. I'd say moderate overhauls on about 20 or so characters. Just tweaking up speeds, particularly my Triumvirate. They're pretty nasty quick. What about you guys? What have y'all been up to?
So if we can, just to keep a point of contention, Tom, if you want to go first just as guest, and I'll follow suit just so we can keep it in order, if that works with everybody.
That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, prepping is just it's I don't know. With fives, it's a lot easier because a lot of the stuff that you already have set up for TW is going to translate, and you want to make some changes, obviously. But for me, it's like these are going to be the teams that are going to be kind of the difference makers, and I'll go all in on them. Like the Zori team, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
It's got defense viability, but it kills so much on offense. It's so you kind of for me, it's kind of investing in specific teams that are normally good, but now they're propelled above and beyond with certain datacrons. So I'll go all in on stuff like that. And like you said, you're modding the Treya team. Like I'll swap Treya to if I'm going to put Treya on defense, I'll go heavy protection to take away Gidme. There's little things you can do like that make a huge difference when you get the season upcoming.
For sure, that is for sure. All right, TJ, how about you?
For me, it's easy, Ben. I'm actually running my template right now, and I've done I think 17 different changes. Because I'm lazy, Ben, and I since I get to be a well, I have all the credits, so I have templates for each that I build out on Hot Utils. I will say one of the ones we've taken away before, and I think it's still going to be fine, ISC and GAR. So Tash, you've called it out a number of times. We have the luxury of the right datacron right now for them, so it gets to add the tenacity on there, but for that check. So ISC and GAR getting a touch of love just to make sure. Even without Jar Jar, I'm calling this out too because I'm sure we're going to see it. Gungans hold a place in everybody's heart and should continue to. They're still a strong team without Jar Jar. So if you've got them, I might consider saying just put some mods on there to kind of get them maybe in the right turn order or get them some out of potency or just some of those checks. Because even if they don't have a datacron now, there are datacrons for light side that do work for this team. And they do like some of the things out there like doing, the dodge. So if we're looking at the special dodge and things like deflection is always a good thing. So I wouldn't discount them. And then obviously your Sid. Sid is still Wampa 2.0 and goes in more places. So making sure you touch up your Sid from threes and having him just in line right with the datacron is going to be a huge one. So I'm making sure because and I think we'll talk about it. We don't know where he goes yet in there, but he does go. You can try now because there's less teams, but you can't. The goal is, can you make a SID-proof board, right? We try to make a Wampa, but right now we're on, can you make a SID-proof board, and what does he kill? Other than that, it's just trying to put in line some more of the other datacron-related teams. So I think Tom called out perfectly, and I think now with 5 characters, Zor is going to be a monster. Obviously, Rey holds her place right now, but Resistance in general with that datacron and that level 6, and then tying it in with that, and then, of course, Jedi. Making sure some of those Jedi teams are aligned because they'll punch huge up. And then, of course, everybody's favorite monster, Bane. Yep. Love. Shout out to the Bane dog. He's the low woo woo. So making sure he's good to go. Those are kind of where I'm at right now. So I've already done a once over on my template, and I'm already going back to make readjustments on some.
All right. Well, what type of readjustments are you making? I mean, that's a good question here because everybody's kind of finishing up here, right? I don't know about you guys, just doing the hundreds every day. I started off with that bank of energy that I set myself up with at the end of the last conquest, so that in full disclosure. But otherwise, I just did through the hundreds this time. Nothing too crazy. I'm done today. I'm red boxed today.
That's funny that you say that. I hit it this morning, and then Then I went to the 200s because I was like, oh, I'm on refreshes. Life is easy again.
Okay.
So I'm going through. Right now, where am I at? Like we've talked about with threes, especially with now rerolls on those key datacrons with stats. This set is such a just greedy whore of a set when it comes to trying to min-max the right setups like protections and or offenses and or health steal with this and then tying that in and just making them perfect. You have to have it just right now.
Okay. All right.
I do the opposite with Conquest. I go through Sector 4 and I sit on Sector 4 until like the last 2 days, and then I'll red box. I sim for like the entirety of Conquest until it's like you're the crunch at the very end.
I've heard that's not the first. I've heard other people talk about it. Yeah, I've heard people talk about this. Does it make now? Normally, I would agree with you, right? Because you want the bulk. But this feels like you're creating Mona Lisas with each datacron. And in this one in particular, the set is so stressed with trying to get things in line with what they want. Does that really play the same for specifically this set? Do you feel like that still works?
I think it plays out just about the same, because what you just said, you're basically just farming Datacron mats the whole time. You'll finish off like the global feats and things like that. So it only takes like a couple of refreshes to go through Sector 5 and finish it off at the end. It's not like it's a last minute struggle to finish. But it's mostly to try and have as much as I can before the locks, both TW and the GIC locks. After the second TW lock, you might as well just finish Conquest because you're not farming anything extra. But all those extra little refreshes are going straight into mats. And you're right, like the past couple sets have been super demanding in terms of wanting the right 3, 6, 9s plus the stats. Like if it's just stats or if it's just some of the abilities, it's easier. But when it's both, like you want as many mats and as many reroll mats as you can possibly get.
It's true.
And you combine that with starting it in a 3v3 season where you need far more Datacrons than you would in 5s. From a GAC perspective, I take a similar approach to what Tom's describing, and like I'm in just sort of this rapid accumulation mode, and certainly the first Conquest, and just sort of getting as many. I happen to really enjoy Datacron, so I lean heavily into it, but similar approach where it's like I will sit at the end of 4 and just continue to build out a big store of Datacrons before I make my way through the end of Conquest. So in terms of just sort of picking up where we were talking about sort of prep for next week, what little prep I've done. So I'll start by saying, just from like a quality of life management, it's been really nice not having a TB. It's been like a mellow week, and I've taken advantage of that. So I've probably leaned out further from the game than I normally would.
Fair.
Right?
Fair.
So that's been great. The little investments I've made have been in that, like Tom mentioned, the Resistance Squad. Like I'm so enchanted with what it can potentially do. It's just a lot of fun, has some fun mechanics. I actually took my OG Fin up to R9, just as a tank. You can take meaningful advantage out of it and be really thick and be modded perhaps to do a little more damage. But I thought that was worthwhile. Little bit for my Jedis, but mostly what I've done, and this is a typical MO for me, I've in the first week of a new season, there tends to be all these sort of disruptive influences here. It's the Gungans coming in, and there's a few other things that are happening. As first 5v5 with some of the new Datacrons that I'm basically accumulating relic resources because I'm not totally sure where the meta is going to sort out. I don't know where the biggest sort of strategic impact of like going from relic 5 or 7 all the way up to 8, or what my next relic 9 would necessarily be until I figure out, what are some key counters, what are some really interesting defensive comps with that. Is going to probably take an opening week for me to get enough comfort to say it's totally worth the investment. So I'm in a little bit of wait and accumulate, resource manage, wait and see, and then I tend to have a little bit of not a full war chest, but like probably a good 5 or 6 relic upgrades that I can do going into the second week.
Okay, I can see that. Building up a strategic reserve to see where the impact is needed.
That's right.
Okay, well, I think we covered everybody's prep comments. Anything else you guys wanted to throw in? We're not usually so round robin, but it's going to keep us on time. All right. How about Datacrons then? I know TJ kind of already covered a little bit on his, so he can add any other comment when we get there. But, I mean, for my part, it's just maxing out my inventory. There's a couple crons that, now that I have pretty much a maxed out inventory, I'm looking at what I got and seeing, can I re-roll a couple of these to salvage kind of the bum stats on these? Or am I better off just, cutting this one out, dismantling this, this relatively crappy level 9 Datacron and building up a new one? Because there's, this is the last chance. As far as like optimized stats, I've been, picking at that here and there. I've been, unlike you, Tom, this second run of Conquest, mostly refreshing Sector 5. But that's because, I had 27 out of 30 Kron's done going into this conquest. So really, it is just a lot of optimization I have to do. That said, I've got some much better like Jedi Krons, like both for offense and for prot. Everybody's going to be happy. You know, Kel, JML, Gas, everyone's a winner. How about you, Tom? Kron focus?
Yeah, I still need a protection cron. I think my best one's like 50% right now, and it doesn't even have the Jedi stats that I'd like on it. So that's kind of my last minute focus right here.
That's a good one.
I'm also trying to pick up more of those tenacity up level 3s, because those are really sneaky in terms of how they affect certain matches, especially on defense.
Yeah.
And I haven't the level 3s have been kind of one of the last things I've been trying to reroll. I've been trying to hit most of what I want for a lot of the teams to get the bulk out there. But those level 3s, you can insert those in certain teams, and they really mess with things. Like in 3s, you saw with Sidious versus like something like Seer. Like he can take out Seer, no problem. But when you throw that tenacity up level 3 on some like a light side one, all of a sudden he can't kill Seer with the dots. So you have an issue, because if she takes enough turns, then she's just going to one-tap Sidious. Like, little things like that can affect a lot of different matches. So I'm trying to pick up some more of those.
That makes sense.
But other than that, yeah, definitely need a protection cron, and trying to refine some of the stats on a lot of the crons, because especially like with resistance, there's like 3 or 4 different resistance crons that you kind of want depending on the situation. I think I've got like 3, and so I need to pick up another one of those as well.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, appreciating the different sort of flavors or variants and paths you can take with resistance crons. Just like Tom said, that's kind of led me to, I had a pretty big stockpile to begin with, but what I've done is really sort of seek to add a couple more sort of like narrowly tailored resistance crons, like particularly one inspired by UTAS, which was a high offense resistance one. I mean, those squads, they're tough to take down with the mechanics, and I feel if you can really, I felt that from Tass's squad, if you juice that DPS up, like the opposing team melts before the resistance folks. So that was one I
sure
definitely
does.
gone for.
I'm going to say the one thing people aren't talking about, and I built it, and I would not discount it. Don't forget your Sith. I haven't heard anybody say it. Yes, resistance is good. But like Malgus, I have about an 80% health cron for my Malgus. On offense, I don't think you understand the power of what Malgus is doing with that level of thing, if you especially got a really properly built one. At 230k health, Malgus will delete you.
God.
I don't think people are understanding that.
Yeah, everybody's going to probably run doubt for most of this
Everybody's
season.
on the doubt train, but Malgus don't care about that. Run your doubts, run your things. But when there's nobody there, because all of a sudden you've been poopsied, I don't think people are taking into account that this Sith crons, because obviously the resistance is really good, right, across the board. It's great, and they have great pieces. But Sith will be money makers when this other doubt cron is gone. There will be your dark side. There will be your Sith. Seps have their love and their places. But as we all know, Sith is a big field, and you can do many different things, many different ways. And taking in a cheap, chumpy Malgus team, but still having a full Darth Revan team to do something else is a huge economical gain.
That's fair. I want to represent Dagger here. He's going to say that if we're going back to really high, super punchy Malgus, then it's going to be back to JKR lead Jedi Cal.
We could try that, but here's my thing. When you delete one person, and all of a sudden he's got more speed now, and they're getting more percentages because it's in there with that level 3 is huge. Because then if he gets to go again and we're on the second or third bonk, dude, GL level killer. Let's just call it that, right?
Better have that 100% offense when you have 100% health, and be just on your dancing shoes for that one.
And it's like, but the other thing about this, Savage is already a monster, but give him more speed now because somebody else has died, and now he's bumping up too. He'll take out a full team by himself, and if he's got 100 extra speed on top of his TM gains, holy hell! Those are the things where it's like that's why I kept calling it this set is mind-numbingly good, not only with what they're giving you, but the stats on top of it. We're back to big, huge numbers and big slaps in the face and 100% on if you're full. But let's give you that is 60% offense. Let's give you 100K protection, which I've seen, which is like holy hell. On top of that, with the monster we're not talking about, Beck, right? But that's also say let's call Tass's favorite monster Gas with Brock, right? Those are money makers and are 100% GL killers. I've watched Brock do this many times, and I know he's back doing it, killing Rays like you're nothing. Just like, oh, you brought a Ray, that's cool. Here's my Gas, and there's your team. They're all dead. And then it's there's so many ways this goes, and the field's so far open.
Fair enough. Being able to ignore taunt is kind of fun too, especially if you want to throw it on defense and you can adjust the speeds of your Sith a little bit so Malgus doesn't go first. You can get debuffs out before he goes.
Yeah.
And if someone sees Cal, all of a sudden Malgus isn't forced to leap GK or the Jedi tank.
I mean, think about a mark, right? What if you just get a mark right there, and he set that up that way? And I know Tass loves his Malik in front of Darth Revan. That's one of his favorite combos. He's talked about it. Fun. Anybody who listens to the thing knows Tass is about his faster Malik, one speed faster than Darth Revan, and allowing that to go. And you pop that, and then he hits the AoE. So just thinking of where that goes, I didn't even put that into context of that level 6. But yeah, that's just such a stupid combo that one little tweak, and oh man, my team's dead. What happened? Oh well, Malgus, you know.
That's true. I mean, I'm probably gonna check my own crown situation and see if I'm prepared for that, because I did remember seeing some of that in 3s, and I treated it seriously. I didn't try to Jedi Khaled. I did something else, whether it was C or something. But so I'll take your point there. That's fair. Next topic here, guys. What lessons did you learn here from 3v3 that are going to translate going into 5s? So, that was our first hurrah, seeing set 14 in action. The base of a lot of the teams are going to kind of roll over. I guess the easiest way to explore that is defensively or offensively. What kind of jumps out at you about something you're looking forward to? Either you're expecting to try or you're expecting to see in week 1. Tom, what do you think on that?
Who knows, but my guess is, especially week 1, you're going to see a lot of those Reva Ray comps with the stacking offense.
Yeah.
Like those seem to be spreading like wildfire.
All the rage. Just save your Bane. Everybody's just going to save their Bane. Just save your Bane. So.
In 3s, you have a little bit more in terms of debuffs, or in 5s rather. You have a little bit more in terms of debuffs that you can apply. But I think Bane probably still works. But it might be something to where you might want to do like with Bane to counter that. But we'll have to see how it stacks up. In live testing.
Okay.
But the interesting thing is, I think there's cheap counters to it, but Malicos, if you want to make an Ufu version of that team, I think might throw a wrench into it. So I think that's one thing to just make sure you've got an idea of how to counter that, because if you don't have a couple of things, it could catch you off guard.
That's completely fair.
Because I think it'll be pretty common, especially week 1, and then everyone will see the stuff that's worked against it and have a better idea. But my guess is you'll see quite a few of them week 1.
Yeah. How many of them, if any, are starting with Foresight? I don't think any of them, right? In that
comp. I don't. Yeah, it shouldn't be Foresight.
So I feel like if you've got the Omicron and you lead with Bane's 3rd, I feel like it shouldn't be that different, because they're basically everybody but the Ray is going to be just turbo lockdown regardless?
Should be, yeah. I think that's probably the case. And also, I'm guessing Seer Malicos might work against it in 5s too, like it did in 3s. So I think there will be answers. I think it'll be commonplace to see. Like there's going to be cheaper answers than Bane for that. So like you'll be able to go cheaper than that even. But with Malicos there, it will throw things off a little bit in terms of the off-meta counters. But I think Bane's probably still a good
I'm calling it now just because we're talking about it. And I don't want to be the Kanye here and cut everybody off. But what we don't know and what I think I was taking into account is what Sap's going to do with GG. And if you're not excited, and if you have that and you're not excited about that's the end-all be-all of killing literally almost everything minus something that can't stop turn meter, you're crazy.
So powerful.
I'm sorry, man. And I built it for that. And that's probably, if we're talking about what I'm most excited about, what does GG Stat do with a full team where you can't hide and target lock is hitting everywhere and you're just going into it? Offense, defense, everything.
Mm-hmm.
What GL is GG Stat going to kill? It's going to be fucking bananas. And I so excited for that.
Would
Take
you
the
say
shorter list is what doesn't
B-A-N-A-N-A-S?
I want to say the only thing it probably doesn't kill is just JMK. What else? I mean, you're stopping cooldowns, right? We're stopping a cooldown, which is fine for them, but who cares about that when they get to the turn meter? If you're not stopping their turn meter, you are dead. It's just that fast. And if you're building up good GGs, and from what I've seen, even with the AI, where Tass's stat just literally just trounced me. I tried something and that was such a bad mistake that they're calling GG on everything. Stat going, and if you've got a really good stat cron with good offense or good health and all that, tie that into a GG with huge health and everything else, and they're calling GG, and then it's back to stat. Holy hell!
Yep.
And they're just gonna go. We've seen it in 3. Now think of it with 5 characters.
You're right. You're right. That's a
The only thing that makes
danger.
me, I agree with the power of that squad, like a GG Staff squad, is beastly. One thing that just saddens me though is kind of with the highly competitive state in GAC right now is so efficiency based that yes, there are a ton of squads that can beat. But even if you beat a GL and you come out with in 5s a 58, you don't, or 50, a 60, you don't feel as good about it as you should. And it ends up moving it a little bit more to D, or it can be part of the all right, full on mud wrestle option where all right, I'm sitting everything I've got that has a reasonable argument for being a tough D on D, and I'm just saving a few extra things that I think can punch up, and then if you can drive enough banner loss on the other side. But
so let me ask you, but what if you can underman? We don't. I don't think we need all 5
like
characters.
that idea.
I'm gonna throw it. So your point, right, is if they never get to go, the only thing we saw in 3s is on GL Chase, right?
Yeah.
It was a 66. Like I showed, or whatever it is, I showed Tass, and then Tass went and did it, and it's consistent. It was consistent. The only thing hurting your team is your team. What if, because of the bonus term, you're taking 4 characters? What if you're able to take just 3 and it still does the work because you're looping so quickly? The only thing hurting you is your team.
That's an awful big risk to take week 1.
I'm not saying to take it week 1. I'm just telling you that's what I think the big unknown for me is, having the ability to move characters. Is Sasha is 100% right that we need to be careful with what we're taking in, because banner bleed is real. And at this point right now, to Tom's point, stealing 5 banners from a thing is actually huge. It's the equivalent of a drop for us in an efficiency meta, right? And especially with 4 less teams. But if GG Stap in 3s was doing this and if we lost a banner because we hurt ourselves, can you take less and still get more and still kill higher? Which means you could put more on defense, to your point, Sasha, that can do those banner bleeds, right? What if we don't need that team now, and GG Stap, which is why I keep going back to this, is the thing we need to possibly get you the win, because now I don't care who you scream. I don't need Leia now on defense. I have GG Stap to kill this GL or this thing we think we're going to see, and now I get to put something much heavier on defense that's going to do that banner drop you just talked about.
And hot tip for those of you that are accustomed to setting your Saw Chirrut team with the Set 13 Cron on defense. If your opponent has this GG Stap and has their Stap set up and has this Stap Cron,
oh man, no.
Consider how to use Saw on offense, man.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, when I say here in 3s, your max banners generally is 57. That was a 56 with GG Stap against Saw in 3s.
Not even close. Not even close.
Not only was it not even close, I really cannot emphasize this enough. I don't know of another team in the game that stops Saw Chirrut from getting any turns at all. Not even JMK Cat can do that. So, so if you see your opponent having that, do something else with Saw. look up what was effective last season. That's the great part about where we are. Set 13 is, super mature. This is the last season where you get to use it, so you do have a full previous season with the Cron and all to see how to apply it on offense. Do that if they got this GG stat.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not a bad trade though, because GG Stap is ridiculous right now, and so sure it's really good, but I'd happily trade my Saw for GG Stap.
There's certainly more than one way to skin the cat. I mean, one idea would be, if you're always having it on defense, just don't show it up front, and then your opponent's planning for it in the back, and then either have it or don't have it in the back. You know.
Yeah, you can definitely manipulate it that way for sure.
Yeah, something like that. But it seems like if it's down to the point where it's like, to your point, if you weren't going to have that on defense, he would 56 or 57 something else. So drawing it to a really good team like that is fair. But yeah, if you set it in the back, either he'll have burned it up front and he's in trouble, or he'll I guess 64, 65 it anyway here in fives. We'll see. Next, well, did we cover everybody here for your 3 versus 3 thoughts, pivoting them into fives? Sasha, did we get you?
I think we got mine. Mine were covered generally here, so nothing else to add.
Fair enough. All right, new and/or revisited strategies for defense as we continue through this efficiency meta. I think the essence of this question is, like, you're looking at, what were your greatest hits for defense that you're thinking are certainly likely candidates for being seen on your front wall here in week 1, and or what set 14 teams that you weren't using the same way last time we were in fives because we didn't have set 14. So, how does that change your front wall? Now, you don't have to give away all your secret sauce, but if you're not really worried about it, or it's not going to cost you anything, what changes might you be making here on defense for week 1? So we'll start again with you, Tom.
I think there's some interesting things you can do with your, like we talked about before, the resistance splits. So Zori's good, and Zori's good on defense, depending on if you want to put her with Holdocron or even without. But on offense, she's great too. So if you want to keep her on offense, you really don't need the Holdocron for a lot of things. So it kind of opens up Holdo if you want to either put her with Ray or do something like a JTR cheese team. And that team can kind of be annoying and kill and bleed banners and stuff like that people aren't necessarily accustomed to fighting on the front wall. It won't not necessarily hold, but can make somebody possibly overkill or drop banners along the way. Like stuff like that. Especially week 1 where people can't just go to GG and see what the data is on specific things. I feel like that has a lot of value.
I'm glad you hit that, because that's one of the things that occurs to me is you have so much incentive to just jam pack the bottom front with set 14, both for your own testing to see what works as a defensive team, but also, so many that would be the biggest cigarette putting out in my eye in particular if you were facing me, is to just put a whole bunch of set 14 bottom front and then I can't scout anything.
Yeah, I think that's where you can catch a lot of people off guard. What you're doing is you're taking the realm of the known data, you're putting something that's unknown, and so you're forcing your opponent to think. So you're kind of betting on, can they figure this out? It's not like it doesn't have solutions, but you're betting on, can you figure this out or not?
So I think that Malgus thing. Sorry to stop you there. We'll pick you right back up. The Malgus thing that TJ mentioned, though, being a great one bottom front, might be pretty heavily featured, because I know a lot of us have been using Malgus on offense the last couple of seasons, but I think the pendulum has swung the other way now, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's going to be something like what TJ was saying with the 90% health cron and being able to ignore taunt and stacking speed and offense. It's not that Cal can't handle that, but there's a chance that there's just so much incoming damage and burst damage that Cal gets caught off guard and you might fall behind and even lose. It's not as straightforward as it was before.
You're right about that. And the thing we hadn't mentioned is this is your chance to shine, Sith Assassin Cron. Be fast. Mm-hmm. Let that Sith Assassin level 9 do weird. God's work. Man.
It's so weird that my Saskron is the one with almost 80% health. It's like I almost built that Datacron specifically with that in mind. It's weird. It's weird you say it like
it
that.
sounds hideous. That's
It sounds,
that's a good call. I mean,
and because it's a Synth Empire, it's getting the full effect of the Malgus lead. So man, it's weird.
I'm digging it. I'm there for it. I see it. I like
I
it.
think I think that yeah, overall, I think this is going to be we're going a little bit away from the efficiency meta. People are still going to try and be efficient, but I think there's a lot more room for defense that can cause people issues over the course of the board.
All I want to give in is that I bet we're going to see some very crazy super teams. I know we heard about we're going to put the Riva in with the Ray or something like that, but I think super teams aplenty are going to be here because yes, they're doing these things, but I think it's going to be like you said, Zori, right? Zori could be a question mark. Does Zori go? I'm not going to say I'm doing it. And Zori on the Ray team, and now she's in stealth and you can't hit her, and then you put her with the tenacity level 6 because you can't hit the Zori. Not everybody's going below 100% health. Man, they're just going to sit there. So it's super teams tied in with Datacron are going to be our week 1, if I had to guess, because that's going to be like, this is, as I've seen and I know we've all faced it and shown it, Aesop's right to passage. This is what he does. This is literally Aesop's bread and butter of putting this crazy comp that you've never seen and mixing it in with a Datacron tie-in. We are still discovering what these Datacron sets can do in 5s. Yeah, sure, we've seen TW and stuff like that, but we don't know what GAC Omi's intact. What does that change, right? We
yes,
have
but you only get
out.
to face Aesop's Eldritch horror teams in the back. You have to somehow make it through the bottom front first.
That's
then
what I'm
face
saying.
the Dark God.
But that's everybody right now. They come up with these wonky setups. We started with the Riva, but now what if it's with a full 5 team? How does that look? Now we tie in these new Omicrons that are there. And on top of that, the Datacron. So we've got a kit inside of a kit inside of a kit. Were you ready for that? And then did you bring enough? And oh no, I loaded that. I'm screwed.
Yep. I see that for sure. Yeah, well, I mean, Tom gave a great answer there. I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to throw in there, but yeah, what about you guys on your strategies, new and revised, that you're thinking about here while we're muddying our way through this admittedly less efficient meta? I agree with you, Tom. I did want to say that the set 14 did make the last 3 season much more interesting. It was still relatively efficient, like historically speaking. I won't deny that whatsoever. But set 14 added a lot of play. Like, it was not nearly so stale, nearly so rote as the previous 3 season. So I fully agree with that. But yeah, TJ, Sasha, your thoughts there?
One, Dagger just joined finally because
hey, Dagger, glad you could come in
late. So I want to call it out that I think Tom nails it 100%. I only add in the super team perspective. I just having the ability to now we have to put 5 characters in, and just putting question marks in a team completely changes your ball game, right? Because like the normal counter of I don't care, it's I'll do it this way, Iden, and it's Adrad, but you get to throw a question mark of Scout in there now, and that's completely changed the fight, and now you're gonna lose because that doesn't work anymore. Or we've always seen this team on Ray, and now we're gonna throw in again, stupid idea, but Malik back in there. And this is now a complete new question mark. You're not ready for this because you can't hit it. I think that's what we're getting because that's what we can do. Everybody says it. We have all of these characters and all of this time to deal with it, but putting something new on somebody's plate and saying deal with it, that's one. Tom's bread and butter because he talked about it. But are you ready for it, and do you know how to deal with it? And did we include the fact that the Datacron is there, and maybe that's disrupting what you thought was going to be the counter?
Fair. Yeah, Dagger, jump in whenever it's convenient for you. But yeah, Sasha, you had any thoughts here?
Just one quick, it's only semi-related observation, but I always feel like it's worth noting is I agree with everything that's been said, and it's a huge part of why I love Datacrons. I know a CG has a lot of stuff it's got to do with this game to keep it fresh, and there's a lot more investment that needs to be made, revisiting PvP, all that other stuff. But Datacrons have been so fantastic because you look at even just for a period of time, the rejuvenation of resistance. Like Tom was mentioning, I've been looking at some of these comps too, the variety of different resistance things that you can do. That is so stimulating and fun. And so when I look at there's that, then there's Jedi, right? Where there are so many relatively flexible, high utility Jedi. We have a ton of those. and a variety of different leaders and really cool datacron. So I'm excited for some of that. I think we were starting to touch on some of it in 3v3 with high potential. So when I look forward to 5v5, and at some point I'll do this, there's like tends to be that like there's a little bit of a deviation between like, okay, what is the approach that is most sensible for like trying to win this match, and what just seems like a ton of crazy fun. And it's going to have to be a match or two, hopefully fairly soon, and it's out of my character, but I just say, screw it. I'm doing crazy fun. Like, I'm going off road here, because I think you can probably try some really interesting stuff with like a meaningful possibility of like, okay, that didn't work, bottom front wall. I'm not clearing. This GAC is over in 15 minutes. But I really think that we are in a golden age of like potential on that front. And in terms of like what these datacrons enable is like GL counters and stuff like that. So that I kind of look at as like it's tempting and it's out there, and I may do it, and it's part of why I love datacrons.
Also, watch out for Sasha's Phoenix. He's a dick with tenacity. So I just want to call it out. I've never fully recovered from this. Don't take your Tuscans on Sasha's Phoenix, because he ruined my life one time. One time so long ago. He made me sad, really sad, but it was really good. Sasha loves that type of shit. So just be careful of Sasha. He's a real tricky bastard.
Little goofy stuff.
Beware.
Yeah. To piggyback off what Sasha was saying, like, it feels like this coming up season, there's like no room for punishment, because I feel like you're going to know whether you won or lost really quick. So I think Sasha's right. We're going to have, if you're less into the winning and losing and more into the figuring stuff out, I think this is going to be a really fun 5v5. Also, I will say, ever since Bulk, I think I've missed every Datacron set. And by that I mean, like, every time we have a set, I'm like, I wish I had a couple more months of this one. This one was fun.
I think that's a good call. I think that's a good call.
Yeah. Doubt like toes that line, right? Where I'm like, but I still think it's really interesting. Because it's not your whole team gets doubted and then you're screwed, right? It was just like one guy gets it and it's random, and then it does it again and again. So as long as you like, anyways, I really, but to Sasha's point, I really think that they're knocking datacrons out of the park. I understand that there's a gap between the haves and have-nots. I understand that it's laborious to farm them. And there's aspects of datacrons that are not fun, including the UI being trash. But I find myself missing datacrons when they rotate pretty frequently now.
But it gives you heart when you see something like, like the Trenchcron come back. It's like, my friend, my old friend.
Oh, Afra. The
Afra.
Yeah. Comes back,
no doubt.
And then the Afra card comes back, and you do that hard eye roll, like, we didn't need you the first time, we didn't need you this time either.
Well, that's just like your opinion.
I had a lot of fun. with that card. Damn you, Tiger. Damn you. I had a lot of fun with that.
No, it was just a product of the efficiency meta, and then this gets thrown in. It's like, oh, thanks.
That's one of the best things about Crons. Is it gives you that opportunity. If you want to get into the weeds a little bit with what certain things and mechanics can do, there's a lot of room for it. Like the Africron is kind of just a bulldozer, but stuff like the 20% cron, the TM one from I think it was set 6, like that kind of stuff. If you want to take the time and craft something and put the modding in it to make a specific character weakest on a specific team, like there's so many things you can do to catch people off guard. Like stuff.
Tuscan Warrior like prod, man. Tuscan Warrior, and you're down almost everybody. Tuscan Warrior hits the kill and everybody's back. That was fun.
God, that 100% has saved my bacon
the watching.
Many times.
So everybody hates the D word and the stuff like that, but the Lord Vader or Darth Vader being the Lord Vader and going in and it's like you get to
Lord.
That's what I'm saying. It's
right.
Like there was, and I agree. Nobody saw the end game, but it feels new. Every time we walk into a new game, like we just did 3s, it's like, man, this is a brand new 3s because we have this Datacron set that does this, and how does this look? And it felt faster. Going into 5s, it's still basically a brand new set we have to play with because we don't know what it's going to do with these character interactions with these extra 2 characters now. So it's full on getting to play a new game mode again, which keeps it fresh with what we're going to see.
Very fair.
Yeah, my only complaint at this point is not even like a real complaint about Danacrons is that I feel like we don't get enough time with them now. As someone who's in a top guild, or we're all in top guild, right? So it's like we all invest heavily in Danacrons.
Just Gauntlet Guild. I think Gauntlet Guild funnels us.
Fair. I'm just saying it's like I don't feel like I get enough time with my crons.
I think that's the objective. No, it is, but I think that's the objective. Look at the way. All right, so taking your point, which is completely valid, goes to what they did with GAC. We had 4 weeks on of GAC. They brought it back a week, and now it feels like that one extra week. I don't feel like I have enough time because now we're into the third week. It's like, oh, now it's gone, and now you start all over, and it's like you've missed a month or whatever it is going into the new set. So it keeps that scarcity in there. Because of that, stuff comes back. It's like, oh, I get to play with it again. Oh, this was fun. We know what's going on. And when they add enough new mechanics to that, that also makes it fun.
Very fair.
Yeah.
Dagger, you're entitled to a bit of a ramble here. You see, we're about midway through the week 1 questions. Did you have, if you're looking back on any of the previous points, did you have any real zingers you wanted to make sure you got in for the folks? And then we'll pick back up on schedule.
Yeah, so just some thoughts on like the prep I was doing is I'm like loosely trying to get things ready for flexibility purposes, like getting guard ISC dialed in. You saw my Maul remod that I did, right? Getting Maul up to like 330, like just making sure that my teams can function where they're needed this 5v5 because I feel like we're just going to. I feel like flexibility is going to be king because, as like when I hopped in, as Sasha was saying, it's like it's going to be the Wild West because nothing's going to hold. Like I'm sure that I don't know if we talked about Gungans yet.
We didn't go deep into Jar Jar. We mentioned here that the video launched, and I figured we could save that here towards the end because we're doing pretty well on time. So if we want to actually, I can pull it up here on screen and we can do a bit of a look at on the kit.
Okay.
We can make time for that.
The reason I asked is I want to just touch on that they're beating Reva, so you can't set that shit anymore either.
Ooh.
Right?
That's true though.
They beat so much more with this kit, and if you've got Omis, they beat a lot more.
Yeah. So the point I'm trying to make is like these heavy hitters that we used to rely on because the whole air quotes nothing holds, but at least this is good. Well, that's not good anymore. It's like we used to put Reva down to draw out Bane, and now it just gets Gungan.
Just gets.
So it's like, yeah. So it's like now we're in this world where we have to like manufacture holds, like TJ was saying about super teams. So it's about making sure everything is dialed in to the best of my abilities going into the week. Because I'm going to have to try stuff midweek. And I need to be ready to try stuff midweek, because you can't remod midweek.
Not with that attitude anyway, but yes.
Right. That's right.
Well, yes.
That and just for, my own, OCD/selfish purposes, both of my Bastilas are R9 now.
Both of your what's are R9?
Oh, wait. Bastilas.
Oh, Pastilas. Yeah.
BSF.
That's an interesting luxury.
Didn't see that coming.
Bastila is more for 3v3 because Malgus now is going to have health crons, and I just wanted to get that out of the way.
Didn't I call it, guys? Did I not call it? I knew Dagger would have had something to say about that. I got
an answer. I got an answer for Dagger's.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm saying if Dagger were here, he'd say something about using JKR lead now for sure against these massive health Malguses out there.
I mean, I still like JKR lead, but JKR sometimes has to go with JML. Or sometimes JKR GMY Joe lead needs to be split off, and you need 3 Jedi teams.
Yes.
And I found that last time we had bulk, like R8 Bastila was getting clown fucked occasionally, like put into the yellow, like the deep yellow.
It's true.
And I need that to not happen.
I support that position. That is a reasonable position.
Well,
yeah,
I also have to call out that Tass is a dirty whale. Not the cleanest of all cleans when it comes to him and the dirtiest of the spending in the game. Luxury is his life.
Luxury.
He was asking whether it's R9 Princess Leia or Rebel Leia the other day.
No. Wait, what? No. That was not a real consideration. Don't you slander me like that. That was never going to happen.
You're not like some of the other people we know who has all R9s on everything.
I won't be doing that. No.
Okay. Even you have standards.
Yeah,
what you're
That's
saying.
right.
You're not.
I
You're
also
not
found
the,
out
A
the
recently
bottom
little
of the rung.
dignity.
Yeah.
Taz, since you have your stream, you should invert your roster and show people that you actually have purple gear characters on your roster. You should feel shame.
Well,
that's not
I mean,
bottom line.
I'm no shame in my game on that. I mean, I told you that's for strategic reasons. How many times I've shown on stream where it's like I need them to I need this fight to end after a precise number of turns goes by, and if they're even a little bit stronger than this, then there's a chance they're going to survive for somebody to take another turn. And sure than shit, it works exactly the way I intended to. So I ain't going to change it. You can say whatever you like.
I was just cheap, but that's fine. We can go with his response. That's
right.
my strategic advantage for having purple characters. Me too,
No,
Tass.
That's right.
I just hate relic. I just hate relic floor. So I've been making fun of Taz, and I guess TJ now because of that.
I'm fine with that. Dude, make fun all you
Yeah,
want.
come at me.
I'm
It-
lazy.
it- it's what-
I'm
it's-
lazy
it's
and a thrifty
hollow.
whale.
Yeah, it's a hollow joke, right? It's like I finally hit relic floor because I've become that which I feared, right?
It gets us all, sir. It bites you in the booty. We all get it, except for Tom.
That's right.
Tom holds strong. Tom holds strong with his, and it has no impact or bearing because he's still in the top.
So I don't know if you guys asked this question of Tom, but I do have a question for Tom since I missed
Shoot.
the interview. What is your plan or process going into a new Datacron set, and then how does that change going into the second conquest? Like, what's your farming technique?
I mean, for both conquests, we talked about it a little bit, but I tend to sit on Sector 4 right off the bat. Like, first day or second day, like after the reset, I'll get to Sector 4 and I'll just farm. I'll farm feats while I'm doing it, but I'll just sit on the Datacron farming node. And for rerolls that are in Sector 5, I usually just do shard shop currency. So as far as new sets go, I try like it's like Christmas when they come out because the whole crafting and what they can do is for me it's one of the most fun things. And so it's like creating a list of like, I wonder if this interaction works this way, or I wonder what this would happen with that. And then luckily, because we're part of Gauntlet Guilds, we have ways that we can test things right off the bat, and so you can put all those ideas to the test and trial by fire, and then you kind of real quick you decide, okay, this seems to be like a use case that's really going to impact things, and so I'll put a lot of focus into a certain few crons that are going to have the highest impact, and then the second conquest is usually filling out crons for all the teams that want the crons but aren't like the crazy impact ones, and then filling out stats where I can.
Yeah, so my process is generally more like top down, where I like look at what I want and I build that. So do you try and like build, like you say you optimize a couple of crons, but it's like, when you're building your crons, do you build them like when you're starting to build a cron, do you have an idea of what you want based on the stats when you start rolling it?
Yeah, so I'll have an idea of what I'm trying to go for, but if like the stats go a specific direction, then it's real. Then I'll kind of give up, even if it's like for instance the Hodo cron. That was one of the big ones that I want you want to get right away, right at the first start of it. But if something was rolling and it rolled like if it was going to roll all protection in a Jedi cron, like I'm not going to try and force feed that. Like I'll you know what I mean. You can deviate based on if a cron is rolling a specific way. But
okay, yeah.
So you kind of have to have like it's almost like a tier list where it's like these are the important ones that I really want to get to, and and then the ones below that. And so at the start of a cron season when you're farming, it's like you start rolling it and you can say, well, it could go like this could fit one of these, branch off into these ways, and I'll go that. Like I'll say it's a resistance cron, but it rolled a different level 6. So it's like, well, this level 6 is good for this, so I can actually shelf this and keep that for the future, and then go back and farm another cron, trying to go what my first tier priority would have been.
So one of the things I struggle a lot with crons is when to give up on the cron. So when give us like a couple scenarios where you would just give up on a cron, whether it's level 9 or not. Like what are you like? What makes a Datacron like? I'm just going to shelve you. Maybe I'll come back to you later. Maybe I just dismantle you.
I'm so like I'm not saying this is the best strategy, but I'm still like, especially when like it's right before the first threes lock. Like if it's a cron that I was going for, and then like say the level 7, the 6 didn't quite hit, and the 7 to 8 they're like accuracy. A lot of times I'll just dismantle it right there, and I'll get the mats back so I can reinvest those mats into something else right away. Like I do that less in the second conquest because you can kind of shape things a little bit differently, and there's more variance. But like especially right at the beginning. like certain crons are so impactful and so necessary that I would rather take the hit and have less overall crons in order to try and hit those ones that are the highest impact. So it's tough when those level 7s and 8s don't hit what you want, because or especially if it's something like accuracy and crit chance on, for a team that doesn't need either one.
Yep.
So a lot of times I'll get impatient and I'll just dismantle those, get the instant infusion of cash and those Mark II, building mats right back, and invest that to try and bring up another cron. I do that more at the beginning of the first conquest than I do the second, but I really try and hammer and get those high impact crons right as quick as I can before the first couple locks for both TW and GAC.
Yeah, one thing I've learned I put it into practice for the first time a couple months ago, but it's when you go into a new set, make sure you have 30 of the old one. And you can dismantle those as needed. Don't get me wrong, for data cache and other stuff. But man, like we were saying, not feeling choked on the new ones just by getting I think the last 3v3 I locked in was I had a bunch of level 3s, but I think I only had 3 level 9s. But like you said, get the level 9s that matter.
Like I say, you create kind of a tier list of what the really big impactful ones are. Those, try everything you can to go for those, and then fill in the rest as time goes on. Because a lot of times, especially the current set, it's not like the previous set is bad. With Doubt Crons, you can fill in things that maybe you wanted this specific resistance cron and it's really good, but you can still, for the time being, fill in with previous set.
Mm-hmm.
So
and
it's just filtering through that lens.
And then I guess the last question on that is, how picky are you on the level 1 and 2 stats?
Not that picky, because at the end of the day, the reroll, the shard chop currency is pretty cheap for the level 3 rerolls, and the rolls themselves aren't super impactful. So you just go to level 3 or go to level 5 before you make a decision, or usually when do you start making that decision? It's kind of an audible. I'm not sure, I don't know if I have a specific cutoff point, but say the level 1 and 2 are both accuracy, I'll bring it to 3 just to see what the level 3 is, and if the level 3 isn't something that's impactful, if it's if it was the accuracy and evasion level 3 we have now, I'll just dismantle it. Mm-hmm. But if it's they both roll bad stats for the 1 and 2 and level 3 is kind of useful, I'll usually just shelve that and maybe bring it up later and fish for stats as it go up. But if the 1 and 2 stats I'm not super concerned about, because even if you have to you make the rest of the cron what you want and you need to re-roll, the 80 Mark 1 reroll mats are kind of expensive, but if you're on top of the refreshes and just buying a shard chop currency, it's really not that bad. So those aren't too painful to reroll.
Okay. Yeah.
But if the level 4 and 5 are also bad, then it starts to get expensive, and I'll usually cut that off before 6.
Yeah, I'm caught up. We can go back.
Okay.
My apologies for being late as well.
No, yeah,
it's funny
that's right.
Because it's funny, so I'm going to mea culpa here. The reason we're doing it this time because this was my availability. And
that's right. I'm telling you, man, one of these days you're going to put this video game chat ahead of whatever you got going on in your real life, and things will just get a whole lot smoother.
You have to add to the list of the fuck you Dagger, and how can you not do that without Dagger being here? So it's fine. You show up when you want to show up, because it's all about Dagger in his world. So it's fine.
All right. Well, getting us back on schedule here. We're talking now about Sidious. How effective is he going to be here in 5s? Surely his matchups are more limited, particularly with what Tom was saying. If you're farming up and having a decent number of your defensive teams having a potency tenacity up level 3 in the mix, that can completely shut down the trying to stack up dots and people just keel over thing with Sidious. So now what we've been doing here, TJ had the idea, Dagger. We just have Tom sound off first on each topic, and we'll just go from there. But what do you think on that, Tom?
I think he'll be more limited overall, but it's the same kind of thing as Wampa or some other squads where it's you look for that opportunity where it might be available for use. But I think one of the things as well, especially in 5s, is going to be the modding. There's the opportunity, because the default modding is going to go full potency and a lot of health, right, to make him as survivable as possible. But if you've got a Datacron that's got health and some health steal on it, I think there's there's the chance that it might be worth looking into going either a crit damage set or an offense set with crit damage triangle, that sort of thing. Because if you can't land dots, he can still just bully his way through and brute force his way through some teams.
Yeah.
Where you're not relying on insta-kill to take things out, but you're just relying on those counters to just beat the other team down and just win by force.
I only want to counter the point that it's not bad, but that Didicron gives him more speed and more work. And it only takes one character dying to allow Sid to maintain and come right back for a full fight. And now you have 5 characters. And while you may not be able to kill the first one because that's the fastest, whatever, but you can work your way up. And eventually there's enough time to where them getting hit and getting hurt is allowing Sid to just get in there and get that in. So I don't know how limited it may be. Obviously, we're going to see within week 1, but don't discount that he can't maintain and just waiting for those people to kill over. And if they're slow enough that you get the 5th one, and now there's only 4-on-1, then a 3-on-1, that actually still matters in the fight.
Oh, how fast is fast, by the way, for Sidious? I had a couple people on my stream scoffing at my 300 speed Sidious, like that like it wasn't nothing. And people in the stream saying it's like mine's 360, blah blah blah. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to do the work required to make that kind of.
Look,
overall.
I won't speak for other people, but I think for myself, 300 on Sidious is like fast, air quotes fast, like not blazing, but like that's
yeah.
If
I thought it was respectable.
You're going to lose. Yeah, you're going to lose other stats. Like it's not like what Tom said, right? Depending on your cron. So if your cron has a ton of health and whatever, then maybe you can put a speed set on, right? But if you're going for an offense or crit damage set and you're trying to get up to like 360, like what other stats do you have on those?
But that's where I think people are misunderstanding the use of Sid by saying the minute you've told me 360, you're getting rid of the heart of the Sid and what he's meant for. Because then you're just making him super fast, but that makes that dude a flake. He's not. Yes, I get the Datacron adds it. Yes, I get you can add stats. That man prides himself on those added pieces. Either the full potency, right? We've talked about it. Dagger's brought it up. We've talked about it. Task. Everybody's gone into it. They may have their idea of what's right. Yes, you want to do the specific build, but if you're not giving that man his potency or not giving him his health, and it's like let's just make him super fast, you're defeating your purpose. Because then you're trying to take this to a punch up and you take it, I don't care, something super weak. And that's what I'm going to take it. That's what it's killing now. It's like, then why did you even do all that work for Sid? Yeah, he's fast, but he needs more. He wants more in his build.
That's right.
It's one of the situations like we were talking about earlier, the relic differential, like that's where it starts to make a difference. Like if you take your Sid to R8 or R9, then that offense or crit damage set starts to pay off a lot more than if you just still R7, you're trying to force it. Like that's one of the differences where, for me personally, I'm keeping my Sid at R7. I'm less tempted to go heavy offense on him, just play him like you normally would. It means there's less opportunities to use him, but it's also less of a gamble.
It's a huge tear up. I think you're right. Like the best hedge against the matches where you can't rely on the dots, nothing's going to do more damage for you than the crit damage set. And then to whatever your concerns would be about the net loss of health by dropping, another 2 sets of potency, your cron should more than compensate. So I can see that being a smart way to go about it. I wonder where that's going to be needed, though.
So if we dial in a little bit more, have you done the math, Tom, on whether crit damage or offense is better on him?
I'm not sure. I mean, he's guaranteed to crit, right? So, not guaranteed, but I mean, he's got an extra 100% crit chance from the cron itself, right? So, unless there's crit immunity and stuff like that, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's arguing the triangle. It's just the question of whether or not it's worth an offense set or a crit damage set.
Yeah, because
generally a crit damage set, but I haven't done the math, so don't quote me.
Yeah. Well, I just when I'm just looking at characters, I tend to default to offense just because there is a lot of CA and CI just running around nowadays because survivability doesn't mean anything. I mean, look at teams like CLS who, if you don't have crit immunity, like in their like generic 2021 mods, will just tear through your team. Look at Bo. CLS tears through that team, except they have some crit immunity. Right? And I guess what I'm saying by this is it's like, I'm always curious to where I can. I have a bunch of crit damage sets from back in the day because crit damage used to be better than offense, and it's like where can I use some of these crit damage sets because you can't reliably crit anymore. Also, for me personally, Sidious is going to be a high banner efficiency cleanup team week 1, And if something comes out week 1 that it beats that requires a remod, I'll do it. But I don't know if overhaul, like you said, I don't know if the overhaul is quite worth it for me personally, because I know I'm in my head, I'm going through the characters I'm gonna have to take mods off of, and I don't want to. Like, I take mods off BAM for this, and then I have to reclock that whole team. Anyway, I'm just not trying to do it anymore.
Yeah. Let me check here real quick. Yeah, so I'll be paying attention to what the results were for Aesop, because if you pull up Aesop Sidious, here, let me see if I can't get it on screen for you guys. Browser. Okay, this one, and then flip this off. What is that? Is that League? Yeah, let me get that off the screen. There we go. Okay, so this is Aesop's. Here, let me blow this up just a little more so everybody at home can see. But yeah, so it's a crit damage and potency set, health primary on the arrow, crit damage triangle, potency cross, health circle, 89,000 health. This is Relic 9. 302 speed, which is, pretty exceptional. Wow, that is pretty good. Crit damage, 243% crit damage, 120% potency, so much lower, right? Like, even, you can comfortably be around 140, 145 in your full potency orientation, right?
Looking at his mods makes me sad.
I just like looking at pretty pictures too. I like going to the art museum and seeing art. It's cool.
Literally only one secondary is a brick, and it's the tenacity on the arrow. Everything else is just like
gold.
Man.
Yeah.
It's cool to go to the guys. We all like to take field trips to the art museum. It's fine looking at fine wine and the art that's on the wall. Yeah, it's cool, man. And then we'll go back to mine and just be sad. It's all right.
It's all fun until like your entire match depends on you being able to beat the Mona Lisa, and the Mona Lisa keeps hitting you in the nose.
She does smile and then asshole at you. Yeah,
and then God.
It's always fun. It's always fun when new crons come out and you do a bunch of like TW testing stuff, and then you have to, after the testing is done, you have to say, okay, now what if it wasn't Aesop's mods?
Yeah, make that exactly. Now, but he's really well protected here, right? So everything you guys are discussing makes a lot of sense. He's going to be more limited with what he can do with the dots, because even if we're not talking about teams that have crazy stats or whatever from the crons themselves. On just a 5-man team, what are the odds that there's going to be somebody on there that's capable of cleansing every once in a while, right? Like, I fully agree that we're going to get a lot less value for the whole stacking dots thing, especially with the more careful folks. So this is a good idea if you could do it. It's now you can try and mentally walk down what this would look like as a Relic 8, but whatever you're worried about health wise, that's what your cron's going to do. So I think this is maybe worth doing here for 5s, and then you just keep this going back to the next 3s. But I know a lot of us made life kind of easy just slapping full potency sets and just bulking out last 3s.
I just want to call it also means that we clearly know Aesop also has shit datacrons. Those will not also be good as well. So it's fine.
Yeah, that too. That's true.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't have 100% health steal with 80% health steal with that. I checked.
Nope.
He definitely doesn't have that.
Mm-hmm. None of these things are true, and you can also walk in and feel sad every time you mention the name.
Just fantastic.
Yeah.
I will say this for a lot of us in the gauntlet. This isn't like I'm going to get in trouble for saying this. Maybe I know I won't, but it's like I just keep my Sidious and TW mods. I'm not even pretend like I don't. If I move them into Gap mods, like I'm already struggling to find time to remod for, So every Datacron set requires remods. Like, we'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
And man, moving something that's high level in TW to something that is like even higher level in GAC mods, that is laborious. Especially like I already mentioned, like the backfill is going to include some teams that are clocked or on GL teams.
I rarely hear it, man. Minus myself. I'll call myself a glutton because I do make swaps and I keep templates because I'm lazy when it comes to it. But I am a rare breed of only one. If I had to guess, anybody I've talked to in Gauntlet, is Task. I'm sure Tom does. Sasha or something like that. You build one template. That's your template for GAC and TW because no one has the time. It's the same thing for doing scouts or most things. Most people, even at the top, are now to the point where it's just like, like Tom already said, he indicated earlier. It's just I don't have the time for that. So I'll do these things here versus where I'm the guy who will make the changes. I'm the guy who will do the full on, give it the over and make sure it's done. I am, like I said, at what it is at the top now is not the same as what it was even a year ago or two.
That's
People
true.
just keep their stuff the same. They leave it as it is and they'll hope for the best. They're not going to scout you. We're going to have a general idea, and some won't even change anything. It's like, I'll beat you with what I have here, or I'm done and move on anyway.
I suspect I'm the only one here that doesn't use hot utils, right? I do.
I manually remod.
No, everything.
Okay.
I only use hot utils for TW, so everything's full manual.
Okay.
Here.
I do hot utils for literally everything I can. I manually look at my mods and will critique them. I don't push it to that point. But when I'm walking into GAC or something like that, I'm on hot utils. Because there's so many characters I want to tweak or do something with. There's something special. I pride myself on that I want to look at something different. So I will do it that way. But then, I mean, you have the credits now to be able to do it. But I live by my hot utils.
Degeneracy.
Yeah, for me.
Yeah.
If for me something has to be absolutely worth the squeeze for me to overhaul something completely. Like, for example, this isn't really an overhaul. This is just like moving one character from like a speed set to an offense set. But like dash, right? So like the Bam Cron. So making dash slower than Bam. Where my dash is only like 360. Right? Now I don't think I'll change that back anytime soon. Right? But like the juice has to be worth the squeeze for me to like toggle mods around.
That's fair.
So if the team does something that it needs to do, like for example, if there are specs for the Gungans to beat Reba, we'll do that.
And see, this is, I think you're 100% spot on, but that's why I think I do it, right? Because of the fact that using your dash for me, I took what I had as required and moved it to desired. And then I put the required in, and what I'll do, I'll flip it. Because now I don't have to worry about it. I already know the spec is there for me of what I want it back to, like, let's just put it back to normal. That's how I keep my changes. But I will say, like, doing the scout now, and where I spend my time, let's look at Gungans, for example, and I know we're going to talk about it. I've gone through and done my homework of what I've seen, like turn orders, potency checks, physical damage checks, protection over health, things like that from like Aesop, Taro, some tasks. I'll look at all these pieces, what I see people are doing, and then I use that and take it back to give me my general idea so that I'm in a line. So let's call Aesop the top, right? And Taro is another really good one that if people, those are where I was look at and say, okay, here's my piece, because they each do things that are similar but do it different. And I take my specs from that and say, okay, let's bring them back to human form. Based on mod quality and everything else, I can't hit. let's say, like to give you an idea, for Gungans, I scoped Aesop. Aesop's doing a 360 boss nast. I'm not hitting a 360. I'm not fucking crazy or retarded. So, but what I can do, because I want to turn order in the 330 or something like that, because what you're trying to accomplish, right? But it's like, all right, so I want to hit this number. Okay, I want the turn order to go this way. And I can look at what they're doing and why they're doing it. And that's how I build my template out for what's coming up. So I've got my Gungans in line with what I think is reasonable now. And then I watch the week, see what's working and what's not. And then I make my adjustments to my template. That's why I continue to use it that way. Because if I want potency checks, which are going to be big, Jarger's going to play with that, and the Datacron doesn't have it. Okay, I want this to hit this place because I need this maneuver or this ability to go off. That's why I keep doing the hot utils like I do, because TW will give you a spec and then leave it as set. Sometimes won't make a change. Well, I'm always critiquing. So if I don't want to do that, but I want my mods to make sure that I'm in line for TW still, because in Gauntlet, everybody knows that matters. Task being task being a soldier of making sure everybody's in line, that is a big deal.
It's true.
But GAC is mine, and I want that to go my way. So I will continually build on and tweak my template, because I want these numbers to hit and these specs, because like Tassus was amazing for this run, and I watched how I got my ass whooped. What was the change on that? Was it Datacron or was it mod? We talked about, Sasha brought up the Tassus DC Datacron. I was like, first thing I talked about Tass, like, oh, I just re-rolled my holdo to 45% because he whooped my ass with it, and that was a check. But also, my holdo didn't have enough health, so I need to put that spec up to make sure this falls in line with what my mods can do. So doing 254 characters now, screw that. I'll let the template find mine for me and get me where I want in spec, or at least what I consider a spec is.
Fair. Very fair.
Yeah, I think most of us have on our browsers a couple of tabs open. Maybe not all the time, but frequently of like a handful of people at the top. I personally look at Kabuki.
That's a good one.
Kabuki, Aesop, Tom, and Fatal.
Nice.
Because Fatal, Tom's a little on the smaller side, so I'd like to look and see what he's doing to try and get an idea if there's like
That's a good one.
My mod depth. I don't know if I would go after like my mod depth isn't nearly what some of you guys have. So
but that's
for
the
me,
important
it's usually
part.
yeah. So for me, the tell would be if specific teams are modded like in a heavily specific way. Like you can tell when things are weighted. More than unnaturally in a certain way. So that can give you clues. Yeah. But as far as like a random characters, I definitely have to pull from some teams to give to others, depending what the current cron sets are.
Yeah, and that's really what it is like if like let's say like I'm like looking and it's like, oh, Tom's like we'll just say Zori team is like super dialed in. All right, well, what is this man using this for? And we'll try and reverse engineer it a bit, or I'll DM. I haven't DM'd you about it, but you know what I mean. Or I'll DM you about like, hey, why is this right? Like, but yeah, you're one of the guys I do kind of check in on occasionally just to see like where you have like the good mods equipped. Just because like you are a little on the smaller side and like it's good intel to try and see what people are trying to do to beat you.
Fair.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, like as TJ said, like Kabuki and Aesop I think have two of like the best modded rosters in the game. I don't know if Taro's off his break or not, but I know I've checked Taro before. Yeah, and then
I'll probably
always
have to use Kabuki. I forgot
shit.
about the break, but I'll probably have to use Kabuki as it. But it's just been a history of the greats are doing similar things, but some things are different. And it's like you just said. I think it's perfect. Dagger is reverse engineering of why are you doing it that way versus the way that Aesop's doing it. Right? What is it makes it so different? Tom, I think his point of the fact like you're here because you can have a more stringent setup mods account and all that, but still push to the level of that everybody who's listening to this is trying to get to. And then what makes that successful? So Dagger saying I look at you makes perfect sense because you come in far more limited than somebody else and can still beat them and or give them a run for their money. And how did that happen? And what was the thing about that? And that's what makes this game so good. And that's one strategy of like you made one tweak where your Zori was one speed slower than I don't care Resistance Hero Finn because that turn order really offsets you to kill a GL now. It's like, well, what is the difference on that? Those are key pieces to success.
I think it can go a long way on defense too. Like, especially like for me, I'm not going to have a full board full of teams that are going to be show-stopping teams, right? I'm not relying on a few of the teams. Some of the teams are just filler, and I'm okay with that. You can go ahead and max Baron, that's fine. But there are certain teams that are like, this is going to be one that's intentionally designed to stop a normal counter, right? And if you're not paying attention to it, it can like stuff with prop modding. It's people are using Gidmade less now, but stuff like that where you would mod against that and people don't check, it's very easy to get a hold that way with teams like either Treya or CLS or stuff. True. And I'm not saying that people are going to be using Gidmade and mod for that now. But specifically, if people have go-to counters on a lot of things, like how can you put a wrench in that? To where if they're not paying attention, you can get a hold pretty easily with it because they weren't expecting something to happen, whether it's turn order or going heavy prop modding or certain speeds, that sort of thing. It can definitely go a long way.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because you may not know what to look at my account, Tom, but I used to be one of the have-nots. Like, it's funny how that works. Like, as you move through life, you'll have times where it's like, man, I can't spend on the game, but I have infinite time to know everything about the game. And I'm in that place now where it's like I have the money to play the game, but where is my time? Right? So it's like I used to be one of the guys who like had to do it with less, and now that I'm able to, just like instead of playing the game, I just buy stuff. You know what I mean? It's like you hit that wall where it's like, man, I can just buy it instead of like farming. That's easy.
And then when you start climbing up the ranks, you got the people that do both, and then you start to be like, okay, this is a tough one. This is not fun.
You run into the Tassinixes who have like
exactly.
I'm not trying to out you, but you have a ton of free time. Like you have a ton of free time, and you're also good at the game, and you have a really good roster, and that's terrifying.
And your shit and your hat sucks and is trash.
Your hat sucks.
Oh, Oh,
We-
I'm sad.
Never forget that Tessa's hat sucks, and that help him out Patreons. This man needs a new hat. He's poor because he
guys,
spends on the game so frequently.
Let me draw our focus back here because I know some of us have to scoot sooner than later. So let's dig right in here on the Jar Jar release. Now I got this on screen. I'll just I'll read off the parts on his kit. We'll just this initial blurb about all the key attributes.
Really quick. This is actually good. I have not seen the kit. When I hopped into this voice chat, was the first time. I haven't even logged into the game yet today.
Perfect. Yeah. So yeah, we'll cover the kit itself then. We'll start here with the basics. So how wooed. Final text says, deal special damage to all enemies. On his turn, one of 3 effects will occur. First one is inflict deathmark for 1 turn to the healthiest enemy, which can't be resisted if they have at least 3 debuffs. Or the weakest Gungan ally gains damage immunity for 1 turn. Or Gungan allies gain tenacity up for 1 turn. Additionally, this is the chaos factor that they baked into him.
Just listen.
Just listen, damn it. Additionally, this attack has a 0.01% chance to instantly defeat a random enemy, which can't be evaded. It's increased to 1% chance if there were any separatist enemies, and this attack can't be countered.
Just wait. No, this kit is hella crazy. So go ahead, Tass. There's so much to cover.
It's one. What did you say it was, Sasha? 1 in 10,000 chance for all these 0.01 effects to pop off on any non-separatist matchup. But you're going to be laughing there. These are all crazy. All right, special one. Big Boomas. All right, 4-round ability, and it is going to take an Omicron. Final text, deal special damage to all enemies. If target enemy had protection, stun that enemy for 1 turn. Otherwise, inflict them with 3 stacks of expose for 1 turn. 0.01% chance that all enemies lose turn meter and are inflicted with fear for 1 turn, which can't be copied, dispelled, prevented, or resisted, and that percentage is increased to 1% if there are any separatist enemies. If all allies are Gungans, all enemies are inflicted with plasma residue, new debuff for 1 turn, which can't be copied. Plasma residue says, this character loses 100% evasion. If this character becomes inflicted with shock, deal reduced massive damage to all enemies with plasma residue, then remove all instances of plasma residue.
What is reduced massive damage?
I don't know. We'll have to see what that means. Does that mean, like, instead of doing, like, a full massive damage, it's half? We'll have to see.
This is like, yeah, because GLs they only do, like, 69k to GLs because they have the 30% reduction, right? Like,
yeah, I mean,
but
this is one you're going to have to learn by feel, right?
And the other thing that's in here is there's a lot of if there is no Galactic Legend present, and that's either side. It's continuing to say all Gungans, and it's also saying if there is no. So Galactic Legend tendencies are in here, but the reason why
I haven't
this
seen
is
it
so
yet.
relevant.
I haven't seen it call out yet.
Oh,
we'll get there,
that's
though.
why I'll let you read. But the only thing
we'll get there. Well, let's finish up reading about this second ability, though. While in Grand Arenas, and this has got to be the Omicron effect, while in Grand Arenas and all allies are Gungans, dispel bonus protection and protection up on all enemies, and they lose 5% max health and max protection stacking.
What's the quote on this?
Sorry, this is a 4-round, I think. 4-round.
Okay.
4-round.
Right.
So, enemies lose 5% max health and max protection stacking, which can't be evaded, but can be resisted for the rest of the encounter, and then inflict target enemy with protection disruption for 1 turn. Plasma residue can't be resisted. Whenever this ability is used, reduce the cooldown of all other Gungan allies' abilities by 1.
Here's what I wanted to say real quick, because that's to call it. This is a GAC character. So for anybody else, why it's so important for this one specifically, this is a GAC Omicron heavy character.
Yeah.
Yeah, this lets you motorboat with Boss Nass like every other turn.
This is going to be pretty cracked,
just
watch.
And low key, that's where the damage. Like, there's a lot of damage baked into Boss Nass. People don't understand, but that's going to be grody. All right, let's take a look at Special 2. We Saw Warriors. Cooldowns. 5-round cooldown, and it's just a Zeta ability. Deal special damage to target enemy and a random enemy. Gungan allies recover 10% protection. 0.01% chance all Gungan allies recover 100% health and protection and gain 100% turn meter and foresight for 2 turns. Increase to 1% chance if there are any separatist enemies. If all allies are Gungans, excluding summoned allies, for each different debuff on target enemy or random enemy that could be copied and dispelled. So that means like the target enemy and the one that it randomly forks off to. So for each different debuff on target enemy or random enemy that could be copied or dispelled, excluding stacking debuffs, that debuff is dispelled and inflicted on the enemy for 1 turn. These debuffs can't be dispelled or resisted, so really there's not a lot of need to put any potency on this guy, I think, or at least not a special emphasis. All enemies are inflicted with 2 stacks of frustration for 1 turn, so this is another new debuff he's introducing, and this effect can't be copied. Frustration says detrimental effects build based on the cumulative number of stacks. So frustration's like a special confusion for Jar Jar. 1 stack says can't assist or counterattack. 2 stacks, whenever this character gains bonus turn meter, remove 2 stacks of recharge from enemy shield generator and expose this character for 2 turns.
Hold on. Enemy shield generator?
Yep.
Enemy shield generator, right. You're inflicting this on them, and they're removing charges of your shield generator.
No. It's not your shield generator. It's
enemy shield generator.
But
it's making it in. You can kill Gungans as well.
But you are inflicting this effect on an enemy. You are inflicting frustration. The carrier of frustration is the enemy.
Okay. Man, I hate templating in this fucking game.
Yeah, I know. You got to think of it from that weird view angle.
Yeah. The character the opposing character gains this ability is what they should have said, or something like that.
Yes, you're inflicting frustration on them, and then when that debuff is on them, it says whenever this character gains bonus TM, remove 2 stacks of recharge from enemy shield generator and expose this character for 2 turns. So that's the trade, right? Is you're trading a little bit of life off of that, but maybe you're really going to be able to put the kibosh on the squishy by introducing this expose into some type of assist effect, something like that. And then when you put the 3rd stack of frustration, special abilities are unusable for 1 attack, and then remove all stacks of frustration after this attack. So that's a lot. That's a lot there. All right, unique 1.
Really quick before we go into the unique, quick.
Please.
One thing that they said is he's special damage, which means he's not. It's highly unlikely this dude's going to crit.
It doesn't matter. You have to. There's this pieces where it's going to come in because he's going to be blind, and that's what I said. You need the uniques to help to tie in this what it's going to do, because he's going to gain death mark. He's going to gain things. So you're going to want to hear what Taz has to say now.
Okay. I just wanted to make a point that we're already down to offense set or speed set.
Yeah, that's it. But he's got so many things built in so many places, and I know Tom and I were going over this, and any of the theory crafters are going to go crazy with what this does.
Yeah, because there's some give and take here in how these.
Just trust me. Give the uniques to tie in, because this is where it's huge, and this is where it's going to make. You thought Gungans were cheesable, and I think Tom called it perfectly when I talked to him. You're not getting to play the cheese game with Jar Jar. Go ahead. Josh.
All right, here we go. Misa Okide. This is Zeta plus Omicron. Final text. At the start of battle, Jar Jar loses 75% max health and gains that much as max protection. At the start of the battle, Jar Jar is inflicted with Death Mark until he receives damage or evades an attack. If the enemy leader is Separatist at the start of the encounter, Jar Jar gains 50 speed for the rest of the encounter. Jar Jar's debuffs can't be evaded, and he can't be called to assist. All right, so his debuffs can't be evaded. Bear that in mind when we talk about this blind thing next. Whenever another character, any other character, gains foresight, Jar Jar gains foresight for 1 turn. Whenever Jar Jar gains foresight, he dispels it and blinds himself instead for 1 turn. Whenever Jar Jar evades a basic ability, the enemy that missed is inflicted with a stack of frustration for 1 turn at the start of the next turn. which can't be copied or resisted. Whenever an enemy dazes, staggers, or stuns a Gungan ally, deathmark Jar Jar until he receives damage or evades an attack. So he's literally just going to be like bungling about, dodging and drawing aggro. Like that's what we see there so far.
This is fantastic.
Just watch.
It's so goofy. It's a crazy innovative kit. I love it. All right, here we go.
Because there's one thing I have to ask.
Oh,
so go ahead.
Okay,
No,
let me
want
finish
you to
reading
get to it
this
'cause we
ability
have-
and we'll discuss it. Okay. If there is an active ally shield generator, Jar Jar has plus 1,000% evasion.
Yep.
Okay. Now,
Keep
what does
going,
1,000 mean, practically speaking? Does that have some overriding effect on Deathmark? I don't know.
That the whole point is, even with the death mark, can you hit him?
That's
It's the whole
exactly.
point.
Yeah.
So, but watch, you'll see why. Keep going.
Whenever a character gains bonus turn meter, any character, Jar Jar has a 1% chance of gaining a bonus turn, increased to 10% if it's an enemy doing this. Any enemy getting a bonus turn meter, he would have 10% chance of getting a bonus turn. Whenever this effect occurs, Jar Jar can't gain another bonus turn from this ability for 2 turns. Okay, so not super duper, Captain Insano cracked. All right, fine. While in Grand Arenas and all allies are Gungans, whenever the shield generator uses Plasma Pulse, reset all of Jar Jar's cooldowns.
Exactly.
Whenever a Gungan ally is dazed, staggered, or stunned, they dispel it and gain Shield Up. I don't know what Shield Up is, but
it's part of the kit for the new one. Yeah,
it's 25%
part of the kit
for
with
2
everything.
turns. Yeah, okay.
So this isn't this. The thing is, all the stuff you read is non-Omi. That's non-Omicron.
Well, are you
Hold on.
sure? I think this last clause has got to be Omicron.
No, the last clause is. But what I'm saying is, think about how much is there non.
Yeah.
Omicron.
And so that's why I would I'd push back on you saying this is like really obviously he has a GAC Omicron kit, but this is kind of like the flip of Trench, where he's godlike in TW and only is occasionally seasonally great in GAC. I think this guy's going to be good in more than just one spot.
It is, but Boss's Omicron is huge for this. But we'll get back to it.
Also, the shield pulses when the shield generator goes away, right?
Here's why I need
cooldowns when the shield generator goes away.
We need unique 2 because this is where I need to get to the hypothetical.
Okay,
unique 2 is the big one.
Let's start thinking about what comes to mind as soon as we finish looking over the full kit. We're at the last ability here. So unique 2, Mui, I love you, Zeta plus Omicron. Gungan allies have plus 75% accuracy. If the enemy leader is Separatist, at the start of the encounter, all Gungan allies gain 50% max protection until the end of the encounter or Jar Jar is defeated for the first time. At the start of the first turn, if there are no galactic legends at all present in the battle, all enemies are inflicted with a stack of frustration for 1 turn, increases to 3 stacks if they are stealth. Look out, Maul. Which can't be resisted. If different look out, Scout Trooper too. If different enemies take consecutive turns, there's your Maul again. There's like Darth Vader. Anybody who's taking multiple turns in a row, a random Gungan ally gains a bonus turn. Whenever Jar Jar misses an attack on his turn, all other Gungan allies assist. So you can choose when you want to lean into you being blinded.
You got it.
Yeah. So all other Gungan allies assist once per turn, dealing 50% less damage. And then whenever the allied shield generator uses Plasma Pulse, Gungan allies ignore protection for 1 attack. If there is an active ally shield generator, Gungan allies can't drop below 100% health while they have protection and can't be instantly defeated.
Boom. You kid. So this is why the shield generator is huge. Watch, now read the Omi.
And last but never least here, while in Grand Arenas and all allies are Gungans, at the start of the first turn, the ally shield generator gains 2 stacks of plasma shielding for every 3 relic amplifier levels Jar Jar has. So that's why you were saying this before we went live, TJ. He's a hot ticket to take up to Relic 9 so you can get that, divide by 3 bonus maxed out. Whenever
Well,
a
he starts with
non,
100 stacks. How important is that extra 6 stacks?
I
If
don't
they're
know, but
attacking-
certainly in our neck of the woods, nobody's going to leave that money on the table. Nobody's going to do that.
I'm
this
going
is
to.
the
I ain't R9ing this fucker.
so this is the
You
thing
just
though, right?
resent
And this
it,
is the
but you're
first
going to
one.
end up doing it. You know it. I
Here's
know.
my thing, and I'm not saying you're wrong, Dagger,
Shut up.
but this is the first time, and you're going to, you fucking whale, but we all are. Here's the thing about it, and this is why I
I'm a
said this is
dollar
why it's
first.
so
I'm a
important. And
dollar
here's my
first, and you know it.
right, but this is what I'm saying, right? And we look at it, and even to Tom, R9, this is the first time R9s are directly being represented to say there is a tactical advantage to R9ing a
No,
non-tank. But it's there. We haven't had in an
No,
Omicron
Marin-
build.
Marin has it.
This multiple of 3 things is certainly new, but yeah, I
but like,
agree
but,
with
but
where.
like both Omega and Marin have like things that happen for amplifier level.
Yeah.
But this is actually directly because the shield generator is so huge, and you can't cat somebody. You don't get to catalate right now. That's gone.
Also,
the
I will say this: I did nail one thing about his kit because I said there is no chance when Jar Jar comes out that there isn't a line in his kit that says they can't lose max health while they have protection.
Oh
That
yeah,
has
for
to be
sure.
in there.
For sure.
Yeah, because I think Tash and I talked about this. Because otherwise, Dooku's just like, "Poke, you're dead. Poke, you're dead."
Sure.
And it's true because I had that happen to me where he hit under and I was gone.
All right.
Like it was.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Muzzle it a second so I can finish reading the last line or two, damn it.
No, fuck you.
So yeah. At the start of the first turn, the ally shield generator gains 2 stacks of plasma shielding for every 3 relic amplifier levels Jar Jar has. Whenever a non-Gungan enemy gains damage immunity, all Gungan allies gain damage immunity for 1 turn.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever a Gungan ally, so wow, that's
Malicos.
Malicos, yeah, that's like your anti-seer Malicos. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever a Gungan ally gains a bonus turn from this ability, they gain 5% mastery until the end of the encounter. Man, that is heinous. There is a ton in this kit. That's going to take 2 weeks to commit this to memory.
That's why he did. And I said Tom posted it to you, and I think, what's his name, Meathead called it when he said, sit down and get some popcorn because you're going to, the dissection on what this kit does. And this is non-Datacron. We have the stuff that works here with them because we can add potency or we can add protection. But holy hell. That's what this dude is nuts.
The exploit,
strong.
The exploit around the blind thing reminds me a lot of like the Leia, the Galactic Legend Leia basic, where it's kind of like choose your adventure with what effect you want to go for.
Yeah,
I love this kit. It sounds incredibly fun, and we all knew that Gungans were going to be awesome. The fact that this is looking like it's positioned to stomp. Not that Lord Vader's anything impressive to stomp anymore, but like if you're somebody that likes to take multiple turns in a row and also happens to start the battle in stealth, I have terrible news for you. You know, if you're Seer Malicos, I have terrible news for you.
Also remember not only all that about Maul. So there's a little part of this kit where it's a little like push pull because Maul can't do his AOE to start because he'll be in stealth. So he'll start with 3 stacks of frustration, which is that locked ability block.
Yeah.
And think about and it's funny because I think it's called the GG with Seps because you have Magna Guard who puts him into stealth, so I think it's doing that.
Yes.
But I think you're 100% right.
God.
I think you're 100% right, Dagger, in that it's the impact of where it hits is in so many different facets. Because who cares if you can't gain turn meter? Who cares if you can't do this? It works everywhere.
Just think about how many characters start in stealth. It's more than you think.
This is a hard elbow drop, by the way. I don't care what kind of separatist team you have. Just don't be putting it on defense once your opponents start running this.
Well, think about this. Think about Reva. So think about going back to Dagger's point on Inquisitors. Think about Ace Brother. Starts in stealth.
Yeah.
Let's knock that out the park. That's gone. So it's just these pieces where it's like it touches every piece of the game. This is GL killer strong.
I think Maul's, if Maul's with Lord Vader, I think he's okay because that clause, the 3 stacks when they're stealth, is specifically applied if there's no GLs.
No GL.
You're right. Yeah.
Okay.
But there's gonna the thing about this kit is there are so many little clauses that aren't blatantly obvious right off the bat that will affect so many attempted counters, or if you're using an offense that'll make you that much more survivable.
Any of these you wanted to highlight here, and I'll scroll back to it.
For one, okay, if you're talking about trying to find a cheapish counter, a lot of times you're going to want things that are either TM trains or that can specifically lock stuff down.
Yeah.
And the TM trains aren't really working with the way Jar Jar's kit is, because even if you're getting multiple turns in a row, they're getting bonus turns to interrupt you.
Yep.
And then they have so much stuff that's anti, like daze and stagger and stun, that kind of thing, that it's going to be very hard to lock them.
No
down
bad
to.
bats.
Like,
You're not cheap in this one.
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff that you would normally, not necessarily cheese, but like the cheaper counters that rely on mechanics, like Jar Jar has a lot of stoppage to a lot of the cheaper mechanics. It'll be really interesting to see how he plays on defense. I think that's one of the benefits of it is, like, I think it's not like Bane, where it's like Bane's crazy good, but he's only on offense for the most part.
Yeah.
This has got a lot of viability on defense too, right now anyway. So
Also,
see what
to
happens
Tom's
as
really quick-
testing goes through. But
Well, I'll just say to Tom's point really quick when I talk about this can be used on defense. There's actually a ton of protection, no pun intended, built into this team on defense. And it's not just the reactivity that he mentioned about, like, you can't TM train it, you can't debuff them out. Like, there are so many just reactive clauses in general where, like, you can't really do anything to this team because the bonus turn meter, you gaining the bonus turn, like, there are tons of teams that don't TM train you DTMG that you know what I mean? Like, there's a ton of teams that gain some turn meter and it'll still trigger, right? Like, this is we'll have to see how it plays, but it feels prohibitive to a certain point.
it seems that way right now. I mean, it just came out, like you said,
Yeah.
like 2 hours ago. But you have to do a deeper dive. But right now, like, yeah, it's a
and
lot
off
of
the
the
top of my
stuff
head-
you would normally default to as thinking. I think something like this would work as a counter. Like, it's
I want to make sure we get Sasha real quick. I know Sasha, I think he had to go. So, Sasha, is there anything you wanted to add?
No, I appreciate it. Thanks, CJ. No, I think you guys are covering it. I'm just sort of reading and digesting in the moment. I mean, the thing that strikes me, yes, as Thomas said, there's a lot here, and most of the things that, like, the sort of natural counters or like ploys that I would want to try, I already see that it creates barriers to. And the thing that really strikes me is, like, we all know that this is about to get compounded by, like, some datacron that's coming out that is gonna, I don't know, say, Jar Jar defeats 2/5 of whatever the opposing team is on his first move. So it's going to be fascinating. The thing that I do like about it, before I've got to jump, is I know the odds are incredibly low. There's just a lot of randomness. I mean, that's totally thematically appropriate for Jar Jar and the Gungans. But on defense, that's one of the things you kind of just pray for. It's like just to create some variability, right? So I don't know that it's really going to be a meaningful defensive option in GAC. But the more randomness you can throw on your defense, the better off you are generally. So I like the direction of it. So it seems super cool. I'll let you guys take it from here because I do need to jump.
Well, yeah. Hey, thanks for joining us, man. And
Anytime. Always take care, guys.
All right, take care. Thanks. And guys, I know that we can sit here and talk for a while, but I wanted to keep you guys. I promise you guys I'd get you out of here in about 2 hours, and we're actually on track to do it. But we gotta sew it up, put a pin in it, and we can come back to this when we talk about the week 1 review, because we'll still have a little more time to think on this. It's 2 weeks away, right? Is the release?
Right. No, it's next week. No,
Oh, it's next
It's
week.
May 2nd. May
Okay,
2nd.
then
So
yeah,
week
we're not
three-
far off.
Week
Wait,
3
is-
GAC is the week we get to use them.
Is that
week
two?
3
Only
GAC.
2? Oh yeah, that is next week. Oh my god. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, not a whole lot of time to sit around and think about it, guys. But we got Sasha's final comment in there. It's a good time to to do final comments. Let's get TJ, then Dagger. We'll get Tom, and then I'll just say my last thing and wind us out. TJ, your final thought for the people here.
I fine-tuned Datacrons right now. Week 3 is a different monster. We'll cover that during our week in review for go 2 into 3. I think it's going to be everybody's. That'll probably be like a 30-minute combo alone.
Sure.
Right now, I think just fine-tune. Just be ready to locked and ready to go. Get those counters up and going, and just be prepared to watch, because I think, again, as we always watch Taz and everybody else, just keep watching the content creators to make those mistakes, and also to be able to find us maybe that fine-tune, like, can we make a better counter, right? Tom will do it. People will do it. So that round 1, week 1 data is going to be huge.
Dig that. All right. So, Dagger, how about you?
I can't wait to get 1 in 10,000 by Jar Jar.
It's going to happen to you a lot.
It's going to happen to me.
A lot.
It's going
You
to
don't
happen
have
to
my
me.
luck, Dagger. I will be the first to be the 1 in 1,000. We all know my luck, guys. We've seen it in firsthand. It's like, can it happen? Yes. Did it happen to TJ? Of course it happened to me. Don't be stupid.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I look forward to the stories about, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still kind of like in that process where like my thoughts are whirling because I'm still trying to process this kit. So I guess I'll just say this, because I didn't see this before I hopped on here, and I didn't know that it was coming out May the 2nd. So like, I didn't know. Oh my god, we're getting this next week.
Yeah, I'm in a panic. Like, that's multiple vaults to get this done. This sucks. Ugh.
Oh, I'm gonna coast in. I'm already gonna coast. I'm thankful I'm gonna coast in. But
Well, eat it.
That being said, stop being poor. This does actually cement. One of my final thoughts. This does actually cement it. Did they announce if this is going to be journey? If this is going to go into the journey guide immediately?
I don't remember seeing that. No.
Because I suspect this is going to come back monthly, just like Bo.
It is. It is said it will be for a week. Nothing about Journey. So it's confirmed to be for a week starting May 2nd.
So if they didn't say journey guide, it means that it's going to be on a rotation, which means it's overwhelmingly likely to be on something like Bo. So I guess my final thought is on that, on this whole thing is, it's nice to see that the Bo experiment worked, because there was a lot of panic around Bo. And people were very frustrated with the lack of availability. And people are going to be, oh man, how do you feel with none of the Gungans being farmable and Jar Jar coming out? Actually, that's not true. Is Boss Nass farmable?
I don't know.
He probably should be farmable this week.
The only thing I would say is, I'm not going to say Dagger's wrong, but we don't know the follow through of that. I know we had the experiment of what Bo looked like. I only want to call out GI, and they made this a very friendly.
This is a raid character. This is a raid character. There's no chance.
I guess that's true. Yeah, that's fair. With the raid character, I'll rescind. I think Dagger's probably right then.
Yeah. Well, maybe I should say no chance. I think that would just be such a kick in the head or the dick to every single player in this game if it's like, yeah, Jar Jar, wait 3 months for him, and we're already 2 months into the raid, and then you have to wait 5 months into the raid for the next time. Woohoo!
Yeah, well, I think we have every reason to expect to see that they'll bring it back perhaps monthly like they did with Bo.
Yeah.
Something like that.
The GL ships have been really successful in that mode as well. So sorry.
Yeah, you're running away with it, damn it. It was a final thought, and it was 5 solid minutes just with you.
I have lots of final thoughts, and that's the problem.
All right, well, Tom, how about you?
My final thought is your hat is stupid.
Okay, all right. Well, hey, you know what? The folks at home will remember that. Tom, our honored guest, thank you so much for sticking it out with us here. What's your final thought to leave with the people heading into week 1?
Yeah, I think for the most part, like this season's kind of interesting because the last season everybody had it in their mind that it's very efficiency meta, and so whether people normally play that way or not, it was kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, and people just went that way because they think everybody else is and they have to play that way. And I think this season is going to put a wrench in that. I think there's a lot of opportunity to figure out little tweaks to either modding or datacrons that can throw people off, catch people off guard. So I think week 1, there's a lot of room for a little bit of theory crafting and setting things that are unconventional, and you can probably get a lot of holds and win matches that way. And then I think week 2, everybody's going to have the data out, and that's your opportunity to look at what the good counters are and figure out how to put wrenches in those counters if you can with modding and cronge and setup or pulling stuff. So. And then week 3, I guess Jar Jar's here, so everything just falls into chaos. So it should be a fun season.
1 week of madness. This is just like how it was with Bo-Katan. Just like it. 1 week of madness, and then 3s.
Yeah, I will touch on this. I do appreciate, and I put this in air quotes because I do actually appreciate it, and then I also, don't. Where it's like, yeah, we're going to give you something in the middle of a season to just turn the entire season on its head, right? It's like, I was going into this season looking forward to using some of the crons, doing X, Y, or Z, and now it's like, yeah, those plans you had? Fuck those plans. Fuck all of them.
That's fair.
You're getting Jar Jar.
That's fair. Well, guys, for my part here, it's going to be about testing set 14. You want to get some data this week. I'll try and break it up. Like if I have, let's say, 4 set 14 teams that I want to test on defense, I might try only 2 per round. Try and rotate that a little bit, because I don't want to give away too much for what I might learn and might like to try again, for week 2. But phase in some of the set 14s. Look at your crons. Look at how you can lean into some of the better stats that you've accrued here over the last few weeks running Conquest. Just test a few things out. To Tom's point earlier, I wouldn't take any crazy risks. Like, don't leave yourself on the back foot from the start of the match, putting too much down or anything. But give yourself the opportunity to learn, and then cash in when you can check GG next week. You'll have your own data and everybody else's, so work with that a bit. All right, guys, it's been a great chat. Thank you all so much for joining. We're going to go ahead and start the wind down here. For everybody watching this here on YouTube, you can catch me live on Twitch, streaming at twitch.tv/Tassinix. I do announce when I'm going to go live on my Discord. You can find the link to that here in this video. Also, it's on my general channel information. You'll be good either way. If you're watching this here on YouTube, please give the channel a subscribe if you want to see more of what we're doing here, and a like. Keep pushing this along. The channel's been growing pretty decently over the last few months, so I really appreciate you guys jumping in with the likes and the subscribes, especially the comments. I enjoy writing back to you guys, so thanks for all that. Of course, on this YouTube channel, I also upload VODs from my Twitch streams with chapters added for easy browsing. Plotting and Scheming here is on YouTube, also on SoundCloud, YouTube Podcasts, Google Podcasts, soon Apple Podcasts, when the smoke eventually clears around how confusing that is to get that done. Let's see. I also have the Datacron set review videos here on YouTube. We have them up for set 13 and 14. We'll be recording a new video very soon with Aesop Rock for the upcoming set 15, which will undoubtedly feature some Gungan-specific flair. Let's see. Is there anything else to cover there? No. So yeah, that's where to catch most of this stuff. And of course, if you like what I'm doing here, if you like our team, you like the show, you want to support us, check out my Patreon. Let's click the link for that. Patreon.com/Tassinix. Guys, for any upwardly mobile GAC player, there's something of interest there to you. $5 gets you into the TAS house, which not only gets you, special access to certain chat and voice channels where you can always get a hold of yours truly, but you also get early access to all my YouTube exclusive content. So the general release for Plotting and Scheming and everything else is usually about Friday, and my patrons get access to it Monday or Tuesday morning, depending when we actually record, and I get it uploaded. Those extra few days give you the opportunity, make any changes that you want before lock-in for the week, so maybe that's worth it to you. At the $10 and $15 tiers, these are the bot bundles. So, if you're about having maximum intelligence at your command, these are going to be something you might want to check out. At $10, you get a bundled membership to OmegaBot Patreon. So if you've ever seen my streams where I do that detailed analysis on my opponent's history using that report, can't say enough good about it. It saves me a ton of time, gives me a lot of insight. At the $15 tier, it's the Double Bot bundle. You get the Patreon access not only to OmegaBot, but to Hot Utils as well, which is just the premier tool for mod loadout management, inventory management, doing hot swaps between what you need for raids, any of your other modes. Great tool. Let's go ahead and thank the patrons themselves that make all of this possible. At VIP access level, thank you goes out to White Wolf, Sam Vimes, Jobin4527, Stark Strategy Gamer, Renee Bebe, Deadpool Cal 28, Johnny B. Ottawa, JJ's Productions Twitch, Sweens14, Darth QPPMG, Ray's Malbus, and Brock Thud Steel. At VIP Access Plus, jumping in on the OmegaBot bundle is Stryker and Esh Sotnikam. Thank you, guys. At VIP Access Premium, going in on the double bots is Quig, Ibanek, Sir Boss, and Trevor Boy Gaming. Appreciate y'all. At the top of the heap, in the secret tiers, my number one supporter, who you cannot ever forget about this guy, is Nomad's Reaper. He will pop into the stream from time to time, drop dozens of subs, thousands of, not even dozens of subs, hundreds of subs sometimes, thousands of biddies, just goes crazy with it. So appreciate the incredibly generous support over the years, my man. All right, and of course, we have to do our special thanks. First, Yoda Force, my former guildmaster back when I was in Vanguard, one of my very first supporters, bought me the mic I'm speaking to you on right now. He has long since quit the game, but we remember him fondly. Wish him well on the other side. To Mrs. T, my wife, thank you for keeping our industrious and curious daughter out of my hair while I'm trying to record this show. Really appreciate you running the interference. To Dagger, TJ, Sasha Isha, my co-hosts here on Plotting and Scheming. Couldn't do it without you guys. Love having you. Love the show. I'm so proud of what we're doing here. So thank you guys so much for making the time from your busy, work and family schedules to produce our show. Means a lot. And of course, I know if you're still hanging out with me, Tom, thank you for making the time. We're all busy men, so appreciate it. All right, let's return back here to the main scene. Guys, it's been great. Thank you once again. Looking forward to seeing here what we learned in the first week. But for all you folks at home, until next time, it's been real. It's been awesome. It's been real awesome. Take care.